All right, Bern, a couple of our special guests in the studio. They actually host their own program, a very successful and terrific show, 7 to 8 p.m. Sunday nights right here at 77 WABC. They're colorful, figuratively and literally.
Well, you talking about me?
Well, you specifically.
Okay.
And that would be Dan and Alex. They've got some great stories to tell. If you missed their show on Sunday night, make sure you tune in today. Dan and Alex, welcome to the Bernie and Sid in the Morning Show.
Good to be here. Great to be
nice
here.
to have
Thank
you both.
For having us.
Nice to have you both.
Terrific.
Hey, well, let's get to the story that really is the one that defines you, Dan, maybe more than anything else. And Bernie could talk about this because he's lived with this with his father-in-law.
Right.
And that is at least what we've been told. Okay? And if there's something wrong with how we present this, feel free to correct us. Your wife has Alzheimer's.
Yes.
So she lives with that, so you live with that.
Yes.
But Alex, sitting over here, is your significant other.
I call her my life partner.
Okay. And you were given the blessing from your wife to kind of move on with that situation because she felt like she was sick and she wanted you to be happy. Is that right?
That is correct. And let me just add to that. We had that conversation on two occasions. We had it 15 years ago when we talked about and made out wills and talked about, life estates and how we were going to manage our affairs if the what ifs became the what nows. And then we had that after she got diagnosed back in 2016. And she looked at me after we had the diagnosis. They saw that there was beta amyloid plaque on her brain, which is what a precursor to Alzheimer's. And we walked from Mount Sinai on 101st Street to 92nd. She put her arm on my arm, and she says, "Dan, I know what this is. I know what it means. I want you to go on and live your life. I don't want you to suffer I said to her, I will always take care of you."
Wow. Well, it's very nice. You and your daughter and, of course, Alex, all three take care of her. And your 5 Mastiffs out there in East Hampton, Long Island.
5 Mastiffs, yeah.
Absolutely.
Alex, how was it for you? I mean, it must have been a huge undertaking to get involved in a situation like this.
Yes, I mean, it was not, it sort of morphed into this.
Right,
clearly, I mean, Dan and I met in the summer of 17 and became friends. We, saw each other in the town of Sag Harbor where I was for the summer. And it clearly morphed into a more intimate relationship over time. And, Dan was always honest with me, and I realized that there was not going to be Dan without B. And I also, over time, got to know B better and understood what her real situation is like now. And I think a lot of people don't understand what Alzheimer's really is, and they think it's memory loss, but it's really a very serious neurological disease. Yep. Memory loss is just one of the signs of that disease. So,
The memory loss is like, if you look at an iceberg, only 1/5 of it shows. The biggest part of an iceberg is beneath the surface. Alzheimer's is the most devastating disease that you can have as a human being. It takes a human being and makes them into just a mammal. They don't respond to anything but fear or pain or hunger or flight or fight. I mean, you can see the digression of a person, the devolution of a person through going from not having Alzheimer's and then going through what in my book, before I forget, I called the WTF period. And I know you know that when your father-in-law would do stuff and you go, what the? WTF. Why did he do that? Or I say something like why do you have your shirt unbuttoned there? And I get angry about that. And then 5 minutes later I go, hey, Bernie, that is so cool.
That is so true. So true. And I have to tell you, part of it, my kids were young when my father-in-law was like that. And we dealt with it with humor. We laughed.
Yeah.
And, he laughed along. And, of course, they progressed to be a worse condition than that. But initially, we did deal with it with humor, just like you described. He'd say to the kids, who are you? Out of left field.
Right.
And we would just laugh, and they would say, that's your grandson.
Kidding, right?
No, he wasn't kidding.
That's the sad part.
No,
that's the sad part.
Dan and Alex, of course, terrific job, 7 to 8 p.m. every Sunday night here on 77 WABC. So we think we're big shots, right? We host a morning show. Bernie, Bill O'Reilly, Fox News, me, I've done everything. So we think we're big shots. and then we get to read your biographies. We don't even come close. Like, you're Mr. Wheel of Fortune, you're Mr. Jeopardy, you hang out with Oprah Winfrey, you dine with Billy Joel and Howard Stern in the Hamptons. Like, we're basically like steerage compared to you.
Well, you know what it is. I mean, the great news is when you had a restaurant in the Hamptons for 17 years.
You did?
Yes.
And what was the name of your restaurant again?
B. Smith.
You know what? I've actually heard of it.
Yes.
Stern hated it.
Well,
it was there for 17 years.
That's just a snapshot. We get more. It's like making it to the playoffs. You don't have to win all the games. You just want to win enough to get
Maybe
in.
even a badge of honor.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, it is. But we had the good fortune of having a 400-seat restaurant on the water in Sag Harbor. It used to be called Skag Harbor, but now it's Sag Harbor, and it's the hottest place in the Hamptons because you don't have to start your khakis and you don't have to talk with a stiff upper lip. So,
right.
But we've had the good fortune of having all those people there, and we've known quite a few of them. But most importantly, what we were about is bringing people together.
Yeah.
That's what.
Well,
that's
that business really does lend to that. I mean, I know I was a waiter before I started doing radio, and I developed a lot of my speaking techniques, believe it or not, talking to my customers at the table.
Right.
Oh,
and in fact, people would say to me, "You ever think about doing?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I just want to make a 20% tip here. You can just make sure you tip me." And they were old people; they gave me 10%. So on this show, Alex, we know Dan's history. Give Bernie and me and some of our listeners your history.
Well, I came to the radio show through Dan, really. I mean, we decided to, Dan had a radio show with his wife, B. Smith, years ago, and he wanted to revive the radio show. He and I met when I was actually helping a friend of mine opening the restaurant space that was there in Sag Harbor in the summer of 17. And previous to that, I had worked corporate finance, in the magazine business. I raised 3 children. And so, I was sort of at a crossroads with my life trying to figure out what's next. And so then Dan wanted to revive the show, and here we are. And
Beautiful.
It's been really great and very exciting. And what I love about it is that I really get the feeling that we are helping people with our message and what we're trying to do.
And she's being modest. I mean, she speaks German, she speaks French, she speaks Italian. I mean, she's traveled all over the world. She's worked with the German Chamber of Commerce. But most importantly, how we really became close was as I was going through my mishigas with my wife, she suddenly found out that her father had dementia in Germany.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
And by the
Exactly.
way, she speaks pretty good English as well. So the Dan and Alex show, Sunday nights, 7 to 8 p.m. And you essentially, in the minute we have left, you focus on Alzheimer's, right? I mean, or is it wide-ranging?
You know what? Seinfeld is about everything, nothing. We're about everything. But what we're really about is overcoming obstacles, understanding that who cares for those who care for those who can't care for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and that's what we do.
Yeah, life's changes and challenges, caregiving. But we also are starting to focus a little bit more on financial planning because most of us forget to think about that before it's too late, right? Because we never know what's around the corner.
Yeah. I like it.
And health and wellness as well.
I got a feeling on the way out here that both of you guys, and we just met. We met you before, but really just talked for the first time. You're both very spiritual people. Yes. I don't know about religious, but you're both very spiritual.
Religious.
You nailed it. I'm very spiritual, and I understand that we sit on this this insignificant blue rock that's in the universe amongst millions and billions and trillions of stars. The most important thing is that you pass along good stuff. We are all, Bernie said, I feel like I'm in the cosmic colon and I'm just trying to hold on.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. Well, you're right. That's all of us, basically. Check them out, folks. It's a great show. You could hear just from this conversation how well-rounded and smart and funny they are. Dan and Alex comes your way every Sunday night, 7 to 8 p.m. right here on 77 WABC. We loved having you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Too,
absolutely.
Have a great day.
Dan and Alex. We'll come back on Bernie and Sid right after these words.